I woke up and I do have cell phone signal out here, which is amazing. I can get up to 2 bars. And I read a question from one of the viewers who asked a question that I had when I first started out overlanding. And that's, what type of toilet do you use? You want something that is easy to use, easy to take care of. You don't want something that smells and stinks. So, all that goes into it. And then questions about, can I use the land? Those type of things. So that was an excellent question. So the approach that I settled on is pretty easy. Now, take into consideration, this is just me traveling by myself. So, if you have a family, then you're going to take a different approach. A couple, I think, could use the same approach, or they may want to do something different. So there are all types of toilets out there if you've looked at them. Some of them flush, and some of them really get into the RV type of stuff. But what I'm going to talk about is in this vehicle right here, what works for me and the type of traveling that I'm doing in overlanding. Well, I had the table behind the truck and there was a shadow being cast on it, and so it was kind of hard to see. So I brought it around to the front of the truck here. There's a lot more sunlight here, but you're also going to see my shadow all over the place, and I hope that's not distracting. But anyways, so the toilet that I use is called a chemical toilet. And you can see it in front of me. This one is made by Reliance. It's called the Hassock. And I like it. It has worked well for 2 years. So I'm going to take it apart and just actually show you what's inside. So we're going to take the top off here. Just set it aside momentarily. And I'll move out of the light here so you can see. So when I take the lid off, there's the seat ring right here. And it is made of a thin plastic. That's been one of my concerns, is that since it is thin, would it break? But after 2 years, it's still holding up fine. So far, so good. And inside of that is a bucket. And so here's the bucket. And I have put just a regular plastic trash bag in there. And I set it back down inside. And I usually take in the drawstring and tighten it so that it stays on better than this. Sometimes I will even take the bag and just put it over the sides like this and then put on the seat. And that works just as well on there. So the beauty of this is that after you use it, you just take the sack out and you tie it up and you can dispose of it. Or if you want to continue to use it time after time, then you need the chemicals. So the chemicals that I'm using are called EcoGel, porta potty chemicals. And it's made by Emergency Zone. I marked opened on it because I have several of these, but I'm still working on my first one. So I don't use a lot of it. Okay, so it has these little packets in here. And what they advise is that you sprinkle some of the crystals in there before you use it. And then after you use it, you put in a little bit more. And what it does is it extracts moisture and dries things up and kind of deodorizes. You won't notice much of a smell at all, which is really nice. So I bought these on Amazon. In fact, I bought the porta potty on Amazon. So That's what I'm using here right now. However, what I prefer to use is this and that. So, you know, if you're in a place that allows you to use nature, so to speak, and just go out and dig a little hole and do your thing, that's the easiest way to do it. But you want to make sure that you have biodegradable wipes of some sort. For tissues, I like it. I know it says kids. This kids can do flushable wipes. They're biodegradable. And it's in a little container. You can close the lid and pull one out, you know, do those kind of things. The other thing that I like, instead of toilet paper, is Huggies. And these are cheap. You know, they make them for babies. And they're moistened. But I don't think those are biodegradable, so I usually use them with the chemical toilet rather than out in nature out there. Incidentally, in regard to TP, regular toilet paper, I have initially, when I first started overlanding, that's what I was using, and I would take out the cardboard little center part and squish it down. And then I got more creative and I cryovac or vacuum packed those using a food saver, and it squished them down really nice and tight. But I found that this type of stuff here, the Can Do and also the Huggies, you know, that's really packed tightly. And so you can get a lot more out of that than you actually can get out of toilet tissue, in my humble opinion. Plus you're getting the added moisture. So I now prefer that, and I don't use toilet paper. For guys, something like this, just get a container so that when you need to take a leak in the middle of the night, and you don't want to get out of the tent, this is really a lifesaver, I tell you, especially when it's nice and cold like it was this morning. And sanitation wise, I use several things. I mean, you can use water, but you'll go through water pretty quick. If that's not a concern to you, you know, use water and biodegradable soap. But what I use most of the time is just some kind of a sanitizing wipe. And here's an example of what I bought at Walmart. Came in a pack, had this package, and has 3 or 4, I think 4 of these packages in there. And, you know, you just pull one out and wipe your hands and then throw it into your trash bag. And there you are. So I use those all the time, clean under my fingernails with them, etc. I did look pretty seriously at some flushable toilets, and I think those are pretty cool. You have to have, you know, certain ingredients to make that work. But then you have the hassle of keeping it clean, maintenance, those type of things. With this, there's just no maintenance. I mean, it's clean all the time because you take the sack out, dispose of it. So let's talk about disposing of the waste that's in the sack. What are you going to do with it? Well, this kind of bothered me at first, but the more reading I did, the more studying I did, it makes sense. So bear with me. What I do is I take the sack out. If it's let's say this is a one-time use and I want to get rid of it, rather than spreading chemicals on it and everything, and I'll twist it up so it's just a little ball, and then I'll fold the sack over that ball, you know, the rest of the sack. I'll fold it over and maybe do that 2 or 3 times. I find that these plastic sacks, you wouldn't think it, but odors come through the plastic and must be porous, something like that. So I do that, and then I tie it up, and then I just put it in my regular trash, and I throw it away. Whoa! I can hear you thinking this, throwing human waste into the trash instead of flushing it down a toilet or going to one of those disposal stations. Well, think about it. Baby diapers go into soiled, right? They go into the trash all the time. And what about feminine hygiene products? They go into the trash all the time too. So if you take it and you wrap it up really good, so it's not going to just spill open and those kind of things, and you dispose of it inside of another trash bag, you're golden. I mean, it's fine. So I finally got over that, and I do that quite often. So I'll be traveling in the truck and going to my next place to camp, and I'll think, oh, I gotta stop. And so that's what I do with that, because when I get to a gas station, if it's just that I'm throwing away, I'll just toss it into their trash. But a lot of these stations, if you go to a car wash, for instance, they'll have bins out in the back, these big bins that the trash trucks come and pick up and things, and you can put them in there. So try to be a patron when you do that. If I'm doing this at a gas station, I'm getting gas there, or if I'm at a car wash, I'm washing the truck there, doing something. I'm not just taking advantage of them. I'm trying to reciprocate, so to speak. So many of these smaller communities also have places that you can go to dump and dispose of your trash, waste disposal sites. And they'll just have a series of big bins out there, and people just drive up and drop off their trash and stuff. And I have stopped at a couple of those on this trip. It's just a matter of finding them. Most often I'll just be driving along and I'll see a sign, and so I'll pull over and stop. So there are all kinds of ways to get rid of trash, not only this type of trash, but just regular trash. And you can see where I carry the toilet between these two cabinets on either side. So when I designed these cabinets and put them into the bed of the truck here, I had designed them so that the toilet would sit between them. And although it's really tight in an emergency, I have used this even when the bed platform is down like this, so you don't have much room. So on long trips that are just trips to go see a friend or up to a doctor or something like that, it is really, really great to have the toilet along with you, because then you don't have to look for a gas station or a rest stop or something like that. You just pull over wherever you can. You can use the facility, and then you can just keep moving. As you can see, it's not a big deal. Unless you're constipated. One of the things that is aggravating is to be out in nature and then see where some animal has dug up the toilet tissue and shredded it, and it's on top of the ground all over the place, and you don't want that. So what you want to do is, when you dig your hole, you want biodegradable tissue or wipes, and then take and make sure that an animal can't dig it up. And one of the best ways to do that is put a large stone on top of it, enough that an animal's not going to want to dig down underneath and get to it. Several stones. I've used big logs. Be creative, come up with a way, but try to be considerate. Now, some places, and you'll need to see the rules, they require you to pack out your human waste, solid waste. So, you know, check regulations there first. When you're digging your own little foxhole to bury your waste, be aware that the ground can be really hard. And so you need to be innovative, but responsible at the same time. I'm standing here looking at some tracks right down below me here, where most likely an elk has stepped in the mud and it's formed a depression. So that's a good start for a hole. I'd certainly want it to be a little bigger and deeper. But be innovative. Be creative. But don't leave a mess that somebody else is going to have to deal with later. I mean, be respectful. Well, there you have it. You know, if you let me know that you made it through all this, I'll issue you a PhD, an Overlanding Personal Waste Management PhD. And what does PhD stand for? Well, it's not the doctorate that you're thinking of that you have to go to the university for. PhD that I'm thinking of is Pilot, Higher, and Deeper. Quite appropriate for this, right?